Good evening, Keepers of the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and joined every Thursday, without a doubt, my good buddy Digger Jim. Jim, how you doing this night tonight, sir?
Man, I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie. We had our company picnic today, and I had to do a lot of work, so I'm beat. But I'm here for the show because I'm very much interested in this meeting this gentleman Brandon in the Dismay Comics. I read the book that you sent me, and I'm fascinated with it.
Well, I had to bring you on because you said one of the favorite things you love about being on my shows with me is you get to keep meeting new people. And the last few times I had Brandon on, 3 or 4, neither Brandon or I can remember exactly. It's okay. It was just me and Brandon. I'm like, well, let's get Jim in on this. Let's spread the love a little bit. And
this was cool.
And Jim goes to a lot of cons, so you might meet him there. But without further ado, the man of the hour. You just saw him on K-Pop Junkie, Katie's channel, and they had a great fun time. It was awesome. Go check out that broadcast if you haven't. You'll sure to get a laugh as soon as they open the show. But Brandon, how you doing tonight, sir?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, it's been an oddly busy, tiring day for me as well. With work and then getting ready for a convention I'm going to leave in the AM hours for, but I'm happy to be here.
Nice. Well, we're going to say a quick hi to the audience, then we're going to come back and we're going to start fielding some questions with you about the project and your past books and what's coming up as well. But we're just going to let you take the reins, and we'll butt in here or there when needed. But Las Cruces, good evening, sir. Paul from Psychedelic Comics, nice to see you. TM Nerdy, Travis, how are you tonight, sir? And the notifications get up. Oh my gosh, it's so hot here. Mark, how you doing tonight, sir? Nice to see you. Mr. Steve White, nice to see you, buddy. I gotta check the tracking on the package I sent him. It should be getting there soon, I hope. 23 Munch, nice to see you, sir. Chop and Drop, good evening, buddy. And we're gonna keep saying hi as people are popping in. But I read it. Jim read it. I've read your stuff before, so I know what to expect. This was Jim's first experience with reading your writing. And so you've written The Gallows Man, which is a mix of dark humor and superhero and just Nazis and a big mix of stuff, right? It's the kitchen sinks all thrown in there. And then you wrote Dismay Avenue, which is more of a horror bent with some great books. And we're going to show a couple of those covers tonight. So we got Make Myself Big, show your past work, and then we'll start talking. So this is The Gallows Man. And a really good read, really good humor. And the reason I'm showing these is they're still available on his Kickstarter site, but they also pertain to characters that I read about in his new work. This is Dismay Avenue, which not so much in the new stuff, but little horror anthology with all the goodies I got in the back.
Nice.
And of course, I don't know how many people got the print, but I ended up with a print of The Gallows Man. Now, one of the things, and we're talking about it backstage for a moment, is when your book starts, you're introduced to characters that you kind of already know. So what made you bring some of those Gallows characters into their own shorts in an anthology format and just change it up with them? You just felt there was more life in these characters? You wanted to see them in a little bit different circumstances? Maybe not so heavy and dark a story, but a little irreverent?
Ultimately, it was kind of wanting to see what they're doing in their day-to-day lives. The origin of writing Tales from Town City actually came from a mistake I made. In Gallows Man #2, whenever I was writing that, this was before the Kickstarter, before the book was done. Whenever we wrapped that up, usually in most of my books, I like to have like the behind the scenes pages, whether it's Gallows Man or Dismay Avenue, kind of talking about like, hey, the making of the book.
Right.
And I wanted to have that in the Gallows Man, but I didn't realize the page count. So what I should mention for those that don't know, some comic printers, specifically the one I use, print in page increments of 4. So like 4 pages, 8 pages, 12 pages, 16 pages, so on. And I got to, I think, like 49 pages or something, or 47
Wow.
pages or something like that. And I realized like, oh crap, like the stuff I want to add, like the behind the scenes stuff, like I don't have enough. It'd only be like, I have like one extra page and I want that to be at least 2 or 3. So I was like, I guess I'll just add another 4-page increment. And so I did that. And then after that, after adding all the stuff, I still had 2 pages, like 2 blank pages to fill. So I was like, okay, what can I do to fill this? And ultimately, I wrote a 2-page story about Newsboy. Like that's in the back of Gallows Man #2 for those that have Gallows Man #2. A 2-page little story about Newsboy, a fun little story. I really enjoyed that story. And after writing that, I was like, dang, I kind of want to like expand further, like do this type of thing for some of the minor characters in the Gallows Man, the characters that aren't the Gallows Man himself.
Right.
And so it pretty much went from there. And it started as a one shot where I was just going to be like, oh, it'll be like a 40, 50 page one shot and have all these characters. But once I started writing the stories, I was like, oh crap, like this is going to be a lot more than a one shot. I have like all these stories I want to write and stuff, to where like I have 3 issues completely written out. If there's more issues in the future, that's good. But there's at least 3 issues of Tales from Town City. So yeah, all of that originated from mistake I made in not keeping track of the page increments.
Interesting.
That's okay. Well, one of the things I like about your Kickstarters is they don't break the bank. You know, like you put out affordable content, which some Kickstarters you're already looking at putting a gold nugget out there, and yours are always affordable, which is something I appreciate, especially in today's economy. But
yeah,
the quality of the book itself when you get it is amazing, and you know you always have good artists. So let's talk a little bit. You got Tales from Town City. So you ended up just doing those 3 stories. Now, out of those 3 stories, I kind of want to know which one was your favorite that you gravitated towards the most. Because Jim and I were talking, and we both ended up liking the pets one the best.
Yeah,
I would say in terms of when it came to writing, because it was like when writing something, you enjoy a challenge for yourself, and you enjoy like when that challenge become like it looks good, the finished product looks good. When it came to writing, Fierce Pets was a ton of fun because it's just so over the top, so goofy, and like writing the animal dialogue, and as well as like some of that. Like for those that don't know, this one story, Fierce Pets and Tales from Town City, it's basically these super animals that slaughter poachers. And that's like the synopsis of it, basically. And
right, it's not
in
Disney.
this,
but that looked like that was Gallows Man's dog, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's sort of like a backstory based on what you're saying, a backstory of what, hey, Gallows Man by day is this guy, and he goes to work, and now the dog is like, okay, now I can, you have the backstory with the dog.
Exactly. Because those that read the Gallows Man, again, you don't have to read the Gallows Man to read this, but those that read the Gallows Man, you see what the Gallows Man is doing in his day-to-day life. He's working at a funeral parlor, dolling up bodies, basically. And this is basically like, while he's there, here's what Hangmutt, his dog, is doing during the day. Basically, these secret animal missions, kind of.
Right.
It was a lot of fun to write because, like with the animal noises and stuff, coming up with some of those animal noises. Because obviously, we all know bark, 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 bark. We all know meow, 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 meow.
Right.
But some of these didn't have like those distinct animal noises, like a walrus or the sugar glider or whatever it may be. Like they didn't have those like classic animal noises, to where I had to go online, listen to their actual noises, and then like manipulate it a little bit to where it's like, okay, here is a noise for that animal, basically. Just little stuff like that was a ton of fun, as well as when it comes to my focus on lettering, for example. This is like one of the biggest focus on any script that I've had when it came to lettering, because for those that read it, each of the animals have like their own distinct word bubble, basically.
Right.
Like Hangmut's is like kind of like a purple, and it has like his cowl fin on top of it. The snake is kind of like a green bubble, and it has like fangs coming down. Like those little details, as well as like it's the most onomatopoeia I've had in a story before.
Right.
Because there's chomps, there's blams. It's just writing that stuff was a challenge, but it was a ton of fun. I do like tinfoiled hypnotism when it comes to like just silly writing. Like,
Right.
I really wanted to do that, and I enjoy it to where, like, when it comes to anything in the Gallows-Man universe, if I were to adapt something like make a short film or whatever, tinfoiled hypnotism is like the easiest one in terms of cost, because it's basically like a web series sketch kind of.
Right.
But
and you cosplay them pretty often. You
just pop up.
Now the second story was fun too. I mean, the pets was my favorite. All the stories were fun, but what I like about the second one is it takes a shot at superhero names.
Yeah.
You know, it just everyone's an animal name, an animal based, and the way this guy is like dissecting the way the names are as he cremates these dead villains, I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the mortician just like looking at all these villains' names, all these dead villains. No one else is in the room. He's just ranting the entire time, just like, like your name's the frog, you're dressed as a frog, makes sense. And then it just keeps going where it's like, yours, however, makes no sense at all. Like, you're called the Jackal. You resemble nothing of a jackal. Like, you're dressed like a green gangster. Maybe call yourself the Green Gangster or something.
Right.
Not a great name, better than the Jackal. Like, just that type of craziness. That one is like the most meta of the stories, because you even mentioned it, Gary, kind of poking fun at heroes or villains' names, where sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes their name like doesn't really resemble them or their powers or anything.
Right.
But yeah, just that mortician just losing his mind, ranting about that all while he's cremating the bodies.
And were all those previous Gallows Man villains?
Yeah, all three of them. Spoiler alert for people. It's not really a spoiler alert. They're not big characters in the Gallows Man, but all three of them died in issue 1 of the Gallows Man, like throughout the issue, basically.
Right. Yeah. I may have to go pick up 1 and 2 now just to feel that connection. It's almost like this issue. I mean, the second story, I was like, okay, I get it. It's funny. He's poking fun at it, but I don't get it. Like, where did they come from? I need some backstory. I felt like I was missing something there. And I was like, I bet there's some, these got to be. And after I read the third one with the pets, I was like, wait a minute. Maybe it's his evil villains and he took them out.
and even with that 4-page story with the mortician himself is in the Gallows Man. He's the Gallows Man's boss right. Whenever the Gallows Man goes into the parlor.
Nice. Now,
where did the fascination with yams in the first story come out?
It ultimately came from a joke, because in the Gallows Man #1, Rusty Hook and Hypno Ray appear in that comic for 1 page. It's just 1 page they appear. And there was a joke there, because the joke basically was Newsboy and Gallows Man go into Farside Alley to find out more information of like this Nazi threat that's lingering in the city. And Farside Alley is basically this alleyway full of homeless villains, pretty much. And Newsboy's like, oh, like what horrible things have some of these people done? And Gallows Man's like pointing some of them out. Like, he's like, oh, that one. That's Hypno Ray. And Newsboy's like, what did he do? And Gallows Man's like, awful things. He oftentimes will go into convenience stores and hypnotize convenient clerks to think that his coupons for canned yams, and I forgot what the other thing was. It wasn't tinfoil. It was like canned yams and this are not expired. And sometimes he'll even hypnotize them to think that they're free. And Newsboy's reaction's like, oh my gosh, that is horrible.
Diabolical. Right, like real 60s camp humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I go for with that, because it's basically 1960s Adam West Batman meets Inglorious
Right.
Bastards. That's the Gallows Man.
Right.
So that one page that they appear in, even though there's only like a couple lines talking about both of them, I wanted to incorporate that stuff in this story.
Yeah.
To where that one line about like what Hypno Ray does sometimes, I was like, that's going to be the plot point of this story, where he's trying to hypnotize the clerk into thinking these coupons aren't expired.
Well,
So
you did give him a bit of redemption in it when he actually felt remorse for what he did to the businessman.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so there was that
I
little-
feel bad about that. He says it.
But then he immediately poo-pooed it when he goes, even you digging your eye out and cutting a hand off and cutting a leg off. So his little bit of good was immediately erased.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel bad about this, but not that bad because I'm evil.
Now, is this kind of going to be like a pattern for you? You do like some Gallows Man stuff, some horror stuff, some Gallows Man stuff again, some horror stuff again. You like bouncing back and forth between the genres?
At least with when it comes to Dismay Comics, like publishing under Dismay Comics, that's what I want to do, is kind of roll something new out. Yes, thank you for the compliment on Napoleon Dynamite cosplay. Kind of roll different stuff out each time. Like next year, like there's going to be at least 2, if not 3 comics that come out. Like Gallows Man #3 will come out next year. Dismay Avenue #3 will come out next year, and most likely Tales from Town City #2 will come out at the end of next year. But kind of like, because I'm working on all these with artists right now. Like all the stories are done, the art is like halfway done or 2/3 of the way done. Like they're being worked on right now to where I want to have that steady cycle of like Gallows Man, Dismay Avenue, Tales from Town City, that sort of thing.
Now, talking about that, because where are you getting your artists for the books?
Right.
Like,
How do you go
are
about
these people you
choosing that?
know, or are you're actually shopping for artists?
Yeah, I was curious about that too.
So with early on when I started, like with Dismay Avenue and stuff, like that was when I first started looking for artists back in 2019. I found all those artists through DeviantArt, like just scouring the pages of DeviantArt, looking for the specific, because with Dismay Avenue, at least those first 2 issues, I had specific art style in mind for each story. So looking for that. And with that, that's how I found Helen Bolton. She did a story in Dismay Avenue #2 and then a 1-page in Dismay Avenue #1. Found her and hired her to do the Gallows Man. Like she's the main artist of the Gallows Man. She's been working on that. And so that's how I found like pretty much those set of people. And when it comes to cover artists, most of the cover artists I've worked with, I found through either Instagram or sometimes like I'll have people reach out to me about like, hey, like just here's my portfolio if you're ever interested, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then after like Gallows Man #2, as well as Dismay Avenue, like the last Kickstarter that happened, Dismay Comics, it's not a big name, but it's gained a little bit of slight name recognition to where I could put out a call to artists through social media, basically being like, hey, like I've got this series, like it's Tales from Town City. I didn't say the series, but I was like, I've got this series and looking for these type of art styles and stuff. Had a bunch of people send stuff out. This was back in February when I did this. A bunch of people sent stuff and found a couple artists for issue 2 and 3 of Tales from Town City. And ultimately with this first issue though, I pretty much knew the artists that I wanted like from the beginning, like for Tenfold Hypnotism and Fierce Pets, because the artist, it's Juan Romero. I was a fan of Juan's before I even reached out to him. Like he did a book called Slowpokes, like the art for Slowpokes. And it was amazing because slowpokes, for those that don't know, it's basically what if sloths are in a laboratory and they're being worked on and they have speed. What if sloths have speed and they just wreak havoc in the laboratory? They escape, they wreak havoc at an amusement park. There's even a sequel comic to it where they're at a camp. It's like B horror movie vicious sloths, basically.
Nice.
It was great. Like the comedic violence, because Juan has like that slightly cartoony look to his art, but like the violence with it works well.
Yeah.
Right, and that worked really well with the pets.
With the pets.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Seeing that with slowpokes, when I wrote Fierce Pets, I knew exactly who I wanted to try to get on that story because I saw Juan do killer animals killing humans. So I was like, that comic is basically his portfolio for this story.
Nice.
And then seeing him work and reading Slowpokes again, I saw he could also do more toned down comedy in terms of like conversation, basically.
Right.
Because with Tinfoiled Hypnotism, it's like when it comes to action or anything, it's two homeless villains trying to use expired coupons at a store. Like that's the story. It's not like.
Well, it's funny because your heroes kill, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
We do have a question from the audience. So, Comic Journey wants to know if it gets easier to recruit more recognized talent with each additional project you complete.
Ultimately, yeah. I think part of it is like your name is out there some, and not saying Juan knew Dismay Comics at all. I am almost certain he didn't know Dismay Comics, but at the very least, these more recognized artists, they have seen that I've done stuff in the past. That I've created stuff.
Now.
Like, yeah, I've got a portfolio. You can literally go to the Kickstarter, see that like this stuff has worked out. You can even go to the updates pages where it's like, oh, he actually shipped the books happened and all that.
Right.
To where they can see that I am like a reputable publisher. I'm not going to screw them over, basically.
Yeah.
So there we go. A little bit of looking at it here. Just so we gotta go. So what I wanted to do is real quick for you is I want to play this trailer and just so people can see it, and then we'll continue talking about it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Straight from the pages of The Gallows Man comes a brand new series of tales. Not tales as in what furries wish they had behind them, but rather the story type of tales, like what you would find in a comic book. Speaking of which, this is an ad for Tales from Town City #1. This anthology series follows lesser-known characters that were introduced in the Gallows Man miniseries. Characters like Hypno Ray and the Rusty Hook. You'll follow these two homeless villains and their ventures into trying to use expired coupons they found. Or characters like Hangmutt as this superheroic dog and his team of super animals slaughter poachers on the daily. And there's even more characters that you'll just have to wait and see for yourself. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, if Tales from the Town City spins off from the Gallows Man series, do I need to read the Gallows Man to get Tales from the Town City? The answer is no, you silly listener. You don't need to read the Gallows Man to enjoy the stories found within Tales from the Town City. Each issue and story found within Tales from Town City is self-contained. So what are you waiting for? Support Tales from Town City #1 by backing it on Kickstarter today.
Nice. So fun little trailer. What I like too is you use the old style Barker voice for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Where'd you get that? Uh-oh.
Oh,
we lost.
I just realized I was muted. I found the guy through Fiverr. And not that you have to. I'd almost recommend that last 40 seconds. It gets ridiculous. Like I found the guy through Fiverr, like back in Gallows Man #1 trailer, and I basically get him to do like a typical like old ad, And then the last 30 or 40 seconds of each trailer, I just get him to say the most random stuff. Like I get his permission first. Not like I'm like, hey, like say
Right.
this stuff. Like I tell him about it, and he's like, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, his voice is great for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I get him to say like going back to like the first Gallows Man trailer, the end of that, I get him to say like me meow, moo meow, I am a cow, or like like I took a wild DMT trip in the desert of Nevada. And then with this one, like that last 30 to 40 seconds, he says, my name is Jeff, and ice cream so good, gang gang. Like I get him to say just the most dumb, funny stuff in the end of all of these. It's
just completely
it's a
random,
lot of fun
huh?
working with him. Yeah. Because it's one of those things where like I have the trailer or the ad, like you see that, and then after that's like, what's some stuff that like random stuff you want to hear a 1940s radio announcer say, and then I do that basically.
Those are some gaps on you there, Dame.
Right.
Something like that. You got to go back and watch a movie from then and get him to say it. But
CJ
that's
had
what it
another
reminded me of.
question for you. Ooh, sorry, Jim, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
go ahead. Go ahead.
He says, what do you find more difficult, the creation or the promotion process of each project?
Oh, easily the promotion process.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I
And you've been on the circuit for a couple weeks now.
yeah,
At least
yeah,
on YouTube.
like
Because you started out, you were over at Brian LCS, K-Pops, and
that's the thing is I love like being on shows and reaching out to creators and like all that aspect of promotion and marketing. But it's like marketing is just tough. It can be tough, like trying to get your book out there or your name out there. There's good bit of aspects I like. I like doing shows. I like coming up with dumb, funny like skits on Instagram or TikTok of me as Hypno Ray or making a dumb, funny trailer or whatever. I like that stuff. But because that ties into creation, basically. It's like,
Right.
hey, like I'm creating something, which leads back to the first part of that question is like creation is what I truly love. Like creation's like so easy. Easier than marketing, I should say.
Yeah.
For me. Like
well,
when it
more
comes
fun for you too, because you're actually making something instead of just
yeah. Because that's the thing is like not even with like the doing shows, but like with like just running a Kickstarter as well as my daily life stuff. Like when I'm doing a Kickstarter, I have like no time to actually write anything new. To where it's like, like I just want to write that new script, but it's like, it'll happen eventually.
You got a challenge issued for you here, Brandon.
Mm,
You made the circuit, but you wouldn't want to be interviewed by him. I think you
No.
would.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Whatever questions you have, I am down, Comic Jerk.
There you go, CJ. He's all about
challenge accepted.
it.
Ooh.
Reach out to Dismay Comics on IG. All
Are you
his
able to
links are in the
stay up-
description below, as well as the Kickstarter link.
Are you able to stay up past midnight? You know, sometimes CJ likes to, go
Insomniac.
late.
That's the thing is I've tried catching like the past 2 or 3 weeks his
Insomniac.
insomnia. Yeah, I was trying to remember what it was. So, yeah, I've tried catching it, but it's like with work as well as like because as soon as I get home from work, I spend time with family a little bit and then work on the Kickstarter some, and then it's basically it's almost midnight. I need to get some sleep.
Right.
It's one of those things where like
that's me, and then I got to get up at 3:30 and 3 to 3:30 in the morning and go to work.
Dang.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I've tried watching, but like I fall asleep before he starts a live though.
Right.
Right. And don't let him intimidate you. He's actually a big teddy bear.
I'm down to answer. I guess put in asterisks almost anything.
Right.
Almost anything.
So, talking about the marketing side and so forth, have you found, or I always find it when I go to cons, I at least like to try to go down all of the. I definitely go down the artist alleyway, but I'm always inclined to go and look at independent publishers that will get a little booth, and I like to see what's out there. Do you find it that you're getting decent feedback from people, or if somebody, checking out your stuff and maybe wanting to say, yeah, let me have a copy of that. I'll buy a copy of that.
Oh yeah, like this year, because I don't have like an online shop to where like once the Kickstarter's over, people can go online and buy my books. I don't have that. Probably shooting myself in the foot a little bit, but I just kind of like the exclusivity of the Kickstarter. It makes the Kickstarter feel kind of like an event, like you got a month to pre-order these books basically, because the books are done. It's essentially a pre-order kind of for me. With like going to conventions, this was my first year doing conventions, and I have loved it. Even with like my first one I did was Fan Expo New Orleans.
Okay.
First convention was a big convention. I wouldn't suggest it to everyone, but I had a really good time. I did pretty decent when it came to getting the name out there, selling books, but also just the meeting people,
networking. The networking.
Networking with people around, as well as just meeting people who've never heard of my name before.
Sure.
And now like they're following and they're getting the emails, backing the Kickstarters, that sort of stuff. That's really awesome. As well as like the most recent con I went to, this was like really cool. I went to basically a paranormal con. I wanted to just test the waters because Dismay Avenue, it's horror. I just wanted to see how that would do at a paranormal con. It wasn't a horror con, but paranormal. And I did fairly decent at that con. And what was really cool, there were highlights with it. One thing I really liked was a lady came and we talked for like a really long time at the table. She bought Dismay Avenue #2. And with that cover, like it doesn't say Dismay Avenue #2 because this is a horror anthology. You can pick up any issue; it doesn't matter.
And then this has the anthology stories.
Yeah, she got that, and then she left, and then the next day, sometime in the afternoon, she comes back. Like I see her come by, and she's like, "Hey, like I live like over 30 minutes away, and I came back just to get." I didn't realize that this was #2.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was another one of these. I didn't know there was a #1. I was like, oh, yeah, it's an anthology. You can read any of them. She was like, I want #1. And she's like, that's the reason I drove back is I want #1. I like breezed through #2, really liked it. I came back strictly for #1. I was like, that's awesome. But like just little stuff like that is really cool.
That is cool. Yeah. And I was just curious because I know that I think for some creators that can be self-promotion is the hardest thing sometimes for some people. They love to create and make the books and write the stories and see it come to fruition. But then it's like, I really, they struggle to get it out there. And I'm glad to see that you're hitting that, because I think hitting the con circuit is the way to go. So and I really enjoy it. Now in the next like year or two, am I going to do big conventions like Fan Expo or I can't do San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con because I'm nowhere near those. Like it's super far away from where I am. I'm in Northwest Florida. Bud's be doing pretty good, Katie.
Now I had a question about you going to cons too, though.
Yeah.
So when you're going there, you obviously got to bring some inventory with you to sell. Yeah. How do you decide how much you're going to print per con that you go to? Because that's all out of pocket, obviously, to print it and then bring it with you. So when you're going to set up that booth, what's your general way of coming up with how many books you should bring with you?
It ultimately comes down to like whenever I first print or second print. Usually I don't really do 2 printings a book. Not saying I won't, like I will for conventions and stuff, but I like to think somewhat ahead to where it's like, okay, like I printed this many for the Kickstarter, sent all those out, and now I've got this amount for conventions or for future Kickstarters.
So it's already in the initial printing phase.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I like to have an amount because I've got 4 long boxes full of Galsman 1, Galsman 2, Dismay Avenue 1, Dismay Avenue number 2, like all
So you
sitting
have a big
over there
supply.
ready to be
Yeah.
put on for tomorrow morning. So yeah.
So Jim, you may be able to buy directly from them.
Yeah, I just send you some money. You tell me how to, and I'll give you my address through Instagram. We don't have to do all this other stuff. I can just get them right directly there. You ship it to me in the gym, and done and done. Done and done. I'm
That's
done.
the thing. Yeah, I do Gemini's. I use Gemini's all the time, which I think most Kickstarters do.
Yeah.
I've seen one or two before where it wasn't, but Gemini's is the way to go.
Yeah. I
But
keep
no.
all of mine. Anytime somebody sends me something, I'm like, that's the first thing I'm saying. Look, use it again. We only got one planet. There's no need to go and buy anymore. Just use what you have.
Oh yeah.
Post
Oh, yeah, I
office
keep
doesn't
my
care.
stack. I'm always using them again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
post office doesn't care. They're gonna ship it either way. So, but well, that's good. I mean, I will throw this out here. A lot of us go to Charlotte to Heroes Con. Might be something you want to explore because
I've been hearing a lot about Heroes Con.
that is a big. It's probably its biggest fan expo. You know.
Yeah.
But it's a nice con.
I'll
And-
probably look into it because the big thing with me now
Yes.
in deciding on cons, like I mostly now do like somewhat local conventions, like if it's within 3 hours from me.
Right. So the travel expense isn't big.
Yeah.
Travel expense, as well as like I this is me being a cheapskate, I guess. Going early in the morning to where I don't have to get like 2 nights at a hotel.
Sure.
I just like go early in the morning so I don't have to spend the night at a hotel,
Yeah.
and then do that one night, that Saturday night, and then Sunday night drive back basically. That's when it comes to those type of travel expenses. Hotel is really like the big one. Now, if I go to one of these conventions that are in the West or the Northeast, obviously driving or flying will be a big expense, but it's just something that I usually think about, because what I like to do, it doesn't happen at all conventions. I don't expect it to happen at all conventions. The positive for any indie creator is break even.
Yeah.
Like what I mean by that is like through the sales you did at the convention, it covered your table costs, it covered your hotel. Like
And it put a meal
that's
in
what
your
I
belly.
like to do. Hey, if it does that, that's great. But what I like to do is at least cover the table costs and the hotel.
So if you have to budget, you just take some like canned yams with you, right? And you just
Exactly.
open them up and you eat them
Exactly. I
because
just chow down on those.
chow down on the canned yams. There
Now,
you
I
go.
was joking with Jim about IG messaging you though, but with your past books that you have, like you said, you have 4 long boxes. Are those strictly for conventions, or do you actually sell past Kickstarters through Instagram or anything? For
I
people that are
usually just keep them for Kickstarters or for the local convention stuff. Because I've thought about the Instagram thing before. Like, also, if I was going to do the Instagram, I might as well make the website. But it's one of those things where, I don't know. It is ultimately, again, me shooting myself in the foot. But I do like that surge, that voice that people are having about this comic within that month of whatever the Kickstarter it is, whether it's back when Dismay Avenue had its Kickstarter, or now when Tales from Town City has its Kickstarter, whatever it may be, that community event surge feeling kind of.
Right. Now, when you're because I know when you have a Kickstarter coming out, I know you reach out to me. Do you have like a list of YouTube channels and creators that you're always hitting? Like, all right, this is the circuit I want to run, and this is the dates I want to try to hit these people. Are you like a fully listed guy, or are you just going through your IG and playing it by ear?
I usually, if it's someone that I've done a show with like once, if not 2 times before, like they're on a list. That's not a bad thing, Gary. You being on a list is not a bad thing.
You're on a list, Gary. You're on a list.
I have them on a list to where like I can reach out to them. for like a future book or whatever it may be. Like you're an example of that. Manny's an example of that. Big Herm's an example of that. Like you guys that I like to reach out to with each of these books that come out,
You
as
gotta
well
add
as
K-pop to
Yeah,
your
you
list
better
now,
add
too.
K-pop.
K-pop's on that list now.
I was
Yeah,
saying, yeah.
K-pop's on the list.
She's one of our community's best. You got to hit her up
Oh,
every
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where like with each each Kickstarter, I do find out about new podcasts or new YouTube shows or whatever, because there's also like some that pop up like in between a Kickstarter. Like there was one I was on a couple weeks ago. That's a great podcast. Monk Box Studios. Monse, the person that runs the podcast, does a great job. She popped up like back in July. So it's one of those things of like just kind of keeping an eye out of like these shows that are popping up, and yeah, with Katie, I think I can't remember when we had talked about it. I don't know if it was like back in May or June. Like at that time, she was like starting up the Fartis feature and the eventually kicking it with Katie. Like she was starting that up, and I think I reached out to her about that. So just like keeping an eye out for these shows that pop
I'm
up.
surprised she didn't get out to you first before you got to her.
She may have. I can't remember exactly who got there first, but
Now, whose
yeah.
idea was it for Katie to dress up as a Rusty Hook?
That was actually hers. Yeah, that was actually her idea, because back for the Dismay, yeah, it's probably like April. Yeah, that sounds about right. Back during the Dismay Avenue Kickstarter back in October and November, I was on Geek Out with Roscoe, and it was around the time of Halloween. Like Halloween was like a couple days away. I dressed up as Napoleon Dynamite. That's why Comic Journey had mentioned the Napoleon Dynamite thing earlier. I was dressed up as Napoleon Dynamite, and Katie was on that episode as well. And everyone liked the Napoleon outfit and stuff. And so whenever Katie and I were talking months later, she had mentioned like, hey, like let's do costumes. Like let's dress up. And at that time, I don't even know if I like had thought of doing this, of like my own comic character.
Right.
But eventually I did, and I think I posted it. I think that's what it was. I posted on social media of like this finished costume, and she either messaged me or it was in the comments where she was like, yes, like whenever you come on, like we got to do this. Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because when I watched that and it came on right away, and Katie was all pirated up, I started laughing.
Now,
And it
evidently,
was funny when she kept busting up.
Wait, you were on with Fable in them, or maybe Big Herm, maybe
like this. I mean, in terms of like promoting a book, it was like my second time being on Blame Fable, but I'd been on before for it was back whenever they did movie reviews for Blame Fable, or it wasn't even Blame Fable at the time. It was just whatever Fable called his Instagram show at the time.
Right.
And
the Bad Batch.
Remember? Oh, 10 Cloverfield Lane. We had like talked about that, but yeah.
Excellent.
So where do your horror roots come from too? Because you have the Dismay comics, you have the dark horror in your you have the Dismay Avenue comics. Plus, you have kind of the dark themes that run through your other works. Even though this anthology is more comedic than horror themed, it's still there's dark humor throughout.
There's horrific elements. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
So, like, what got you there growing up? Like, what were some of the things that helped influence your dark humor?
I think it ultimately was like just growing up with horror in general. Like my parents didn't like really allow or want my brother and I to watch like rated R horror movies and stuff. But we would go over to our uncle's house like every other week, and our uncle did not care. A lot of times,
Yeah, we're gonna watch this. Yeah,
a lot of times my cousin would come over. It wasn't my uncle's daughter, but my cousin would come over, and she was big into horror. Her parents were fine with letting her watch stuff, and we would go to the video rental place back when those were a thing. But again, this is like less than 15 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. But yeah, it just shows how far back or how
the tail end of video rental stores then
places
too.
are just gone. Yeah, but went to a video rental place, and she rented Saw 3.
Oh,
and
wow.
we watched Saw 3. I knew nothing about any of the Saw movies aside from seeing the covers of them at the video rental place.
Right.
We watched Saw 3, and I think it left a weird imprint on me. But because that's one of the most like gruesome Saw movies in terms of like the traps feeling kind of weirdly realistic and stuff. But even before that, like I've really enjoyed horror. Like the first horror movie I remember watching, I think, was Nightmare on Elm Street. I was 6 or 7 years old, and this was the cable version, so it was on whatever public access channel it was, so a little bit censored. I remember watching that with my dad when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and then having a church event that night and being terrified to go outside at night because I was so
into your
scared.
heart. No wonder your parents were like, "Forget it."
Probably, yeah.
It's
like A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like you can look at it now. There's like some stuff that doesn't hold up as well, but like it was terrifying to me because I never thought of that concept of like whenever I went to bed at 6 or 7, I was like, oh, I'm going to be safe. And now I watch this and I got to sleep with mom and dad for a week, basically.
No wonder you get to see horror. Yeah, that was the end of that.
Yeah.
You see, I was always a horror kid that loved it. It never bothered me. Whatever I could watch, I watched. And then I remember everybody telling me how scary The Exorcist was, and I watched it, and it bored me to tears.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, The Exorcist.
There wasn't enough action in it to keep you,
Yeah, when you're a kid.
With it.
Yeah,
Even as a kid, I thought it was silly.
Yeah.
And some people are terrified of that movie.
I like the movie, but I'll admit, whenever I tried watching it back in middle school, again, I was a middle schooler. It was just like, because I was sleeping over at a friend's house, and they put it on, and I fell asleep midway through.
Yeah,
I was middle schooler. I like it now, but like you had said, I was scared when it came to horror movies or even going to haunted attractions and stuff up until like 11 or 12. Then after that, like something happened to where I was like almost numb to all that stuff. Like not saying it in a bad way, but it was like I watched them. I watched them more for like enjoyment rather than like trying to scare the crap out of me.
Right, because when I watch it, and I've always been this way, it never I always know I'm watching a movie, right? So this one it just doesn't scare me. I'm like I know it's a film.
Yeah.
You can get wrapped up in it and really enjoy the story.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just I like the ones that just have a good narrative. I'm not a slasher guy because those tend to be really boring, and really lacking story. But I'm more like the supernatural. And if it's not the supernatural, then I go more towards your way here with the slapsticky, dark undertone horror. It's one way or the other,
Yeah.
And that's what I like about some of these stories is they have the slapsticky, dark horror themes. Like the pets in that one story, they're so lovable and cute, but they're doing horrific things to these villains.
Like I didn't know a horse could take somebody out like that. He was like,
just dig their tusk in.
There you go. Brother Joe's asking you to hypnotize him.
Yeah.
Brother Joe, continue watching this stream.
Yeah.
Do not... I'm not saying your bedtime is at 8 o'clock, but if it is, stay up past 8, Brother Joe.
You got to get creative. You got to say, you'll make me a ham sandwich and drop it off at my house.
Yeah.
Feed yourself.
No more beer for the night, Brother Joe.
It took him 2 days to snap out of it. Now, obviously, what Hypno Man is one of your favorites. What attracts you to that character? Just the zany concept of the tinfoil hat and the weird glasses, and him thinking that he has power over people that he doesn't.
It kind of basically leads to that, like especially with characters like Hypno Ray and Rusty Hook, and any of the characters that appear in like Far Side Alley, like that homeless villains alley. Just like how they're villains, but really how bad of people are they? Like Hypno
Right.
Ray did a very bad thing, but was ultimately like a dumb mistake. Like he was
Right.
pretty
Right.
much testing out his powers, turned a business guy into a pirate, and that guy gouged his eye out, cut his hand off, cut his leg off, that sort of stuff to get into
But
the
the
role.
heroes, they're killing the kill.
The heroes, yeah, that's the thing with the Gallows Man that I like writing is like ultimately Gallows Man and Tales from Town City is just like a fun time. Ultimately, it's just fun comics, funny comics. But if you want to read into it, you can dig a little bit into it. Nothing super deep, but like the Gallows Man is like the desensitization of violence, like in our culture, as well as since it's set in the Golden Age, going back to our actual Golden Age and how like during that time you had heroes and superheroes that were like literally killing muggers and different stuff like that.
Right.
To where it's and at that time you had like little kid reading it is like, yeah, I want to be like this guy rules, yeah, get him. And so the Gallows Man is like a hyperization of that,
Right. Back
to
when
where
Batman had a gun.
Right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Gallows Man is like hyperization to where Town City, the city he resides in, is just like this world is like, yeah, like these guys rock, like hanging a mugger or whatever. It's like, yeah, like I look up to Gallows Man, like that sort of stuff. You got radio announcers in the Gallows Man. It's like, the Gallows Man and Newsboy, they hung the frog out to dry. Good for them, like that sort of stuff. Just
Nice.
yeah, like kind of
Yeah,
hyperizing
kitschy fun.
our
Yeah.
Golden Age. Yeah.
As well, it seems like you developed that voice like pretty early on, and you're able to maintain it, which is nice. I do like the offshoots. I am definitely interested in some more horror, more like dark horror parts moving forward when that comes out again.
Yeah, yeah.
But so you're saying you had two more volumes of this coming out, and another volume of Dismay, and another volume of Gallows Man. So you got a lot in the fires right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, because Gallows Man, it's a 4-issue miniseries, but like each issue they're thick books. Like
Yes.
issues 1 and 2, just in story, were 49 pages each. That's just story. Then there's the backup stuff in there. Yeah, we'll have Gallows Man number 3 as well as Gallows Man number 4. Gallows Man number 3 is probably going to be the thickest of them. Like it's going to be longer than 49 pages of story.
Wow.
Because a lot happens in there. And I'm enjoying it so far, like with working with Helen on that, getting the art back.
And even on
So
this, they're
Gallows-
laughing as this poor villain is destroyed.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The
he has a
teeth
fun
flying
time
and all
face,
that.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
What I like about that cover for issue 2 is that cover. Thomas Tika is the main cover artist of the Gallows Man. Back when we were trying to find like sketch out the right cover for issue 1, that issue 2 cover, he did a sketch of it, and I was like, I don't know if it'll fit for issue 1, but let's table this. Let's put a pin in this. Don't get rid of this sketch. Don't get rid of this concept. Let's put a pin in it, to where we had the Gallows Man number 1 cover. Then a year later, whenever we got into the issue 2 cover, it's like, we already got the sketch concept. Let's just flesh it out more. Let's talk about details and going
Right.
from there. So that's what I like about that issue 2 cover is it's I love the cover, just the black and white and then the red with it, but just how it started as a concept for the issue 1 cover, but we still kept it for issue 2.
Well, and I did notice that in all your comics, red's a big theme.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like red's got to be your favorite color, right?
Well, it's one of those things, at least with like here, let me get a couple examples. It's one of those things when it comes to the more I say monotone colors, but like if it's a dark color or if it's like one singular color,
Right.
red pops. It catches your eye. Like Dismay Avenue #1 cover. Like I and I'm not saying this in tooting my own horn. I literally saw proof of this back when I like early before. Well, around Kickstarters, whenever I started doing Kickstarters, I had some of these in like local shops, like on consignment, and took a picture of it. Like took a picture of it on the wall, and it's the first thing. Like I was biased, so obviously it was the first thing I saw. But a friend of mine who didn't even know I'd made comics, I sent him the picture, and I sent 2 other people the picture. I was like, what are the first 3 comics that pop out to you of this wall of like 50 or 100 comics?
Right.
And all of them, this was either the first or second comic that caught their eye on that wall. So those things that pop out, as well as like if it's stuff like this where it's like
Yeah.
beautiful face art and the dark colors help like make that red pop more.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when it comes to having a dark color or like white as the background, red just stands out more.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
Makes
a strong
sense.
contrast. Yeah.
I mean, you got to have what catches the eye, right?
Oh yeah.
And I especially liked on the woman's face cover too. That I thought it was clever that the names of the stories were on the band-aids on her face.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch.
Thank you.
Now you have 2 covers for this book.
Yeah.
So what made you go with how'd you decide who was doing what cover? Like what was the process for that? Because you wanted 2 different themes specifically, I'm sure, in your head. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it ultimately came from like the 2 big stories. There's 3 stories, but one of them's a 4 to 5 page story, whereas these others are these bigger stories. I wanted to have a cover representing each of those stories,
Right.
but still encapsulating like town city itself. So I wanted Juan to do the animals one because like I wanted to keep that like cartoony but violent look to it. So he did that cover with having like the town city skyscrapers and buildings in the background, just implementing it that it's in a city. And then with the other one, Thomas Tikas, he did that one, which the 2 homeless villains. It's a little bit more closer, a little bit more personal. They're huddled around a trash can. They're eating some moldy cheese out of a trash can.
Right.
Like it catches their eye. But in the background, you see like the buildings, like the skyscrapers and stuff, showing that it's within the city.
Yeah. I like the animal
No, I
one
think-
the best.
Oh yeah. I really like the way Juan was able to kind of capture it, like it really stands out.
Right, yeah, and the art in the animals one is just fun with the way they're attacking and horrific events that are happening while they're attacking.
Yeah.
Like they're fun panels to look at.
Thank you. Yeah. It worked out perfectly. It was one of those things where, I just liked. Not entirely. This might sound kind of gross. Like I've had, when it comes to the promotional stuff, like doing Instagram and all this is the same hat I've had for like the past 2 or 3 months. I have cleaned it out once or twice with a Clorox, but yeah, like it's still been this hat until I like crush it and make another
Once it
one.
fits, it fits, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't take long to make one, but I guess it's just like, it's still there. I'll just keep using that one.
Nice. Now, if there's anything we haven't covered, what would you like to tell people about Tales from Town City? That the message that you want to get across to them about this Kickstarter and this book?
Ultimately, just if you are wanting a funny time of a book, like please back this, pre-order this. I'm a little bit biased. I am the writer, but I think it's a funny time. And there's amazing comics out nowadays. Like compared to, I mean, the past 15 years, like there have been amazing comics. Yes, there's some misses, but I think there's more hits than misses
Right.
nowadays, as well as like with indie publishers, the mainstream indie publishers, Boom, Image, as well as like indie publishers.
Sure.
There's been great stuff, some deep philosophical stuff, but sometimes you want a little break from that. Sometimes you want a little break from some of the serious stuff. Like Tom King is one of my favorite writers. Whenever he does a 12-issue maxi series or like those short series on a character, knocks out of the water, in my opinion. But sometimes you want a little break from hearing.
It can't be heavy, serious all the time.
All the time.
You want a little break from hearing how bad war is from Tom King.
Right.
War is bad. Thank you, Tom. But sometimes I need a little break in between those books. I need to
remember that it's okay to laugh too.
Exactly. It's one of those things where like you can still read and enjoy your serious comics and your deep philosophical comics that will leave a mark on you, an imprint on you. But also sometimes it's okay to have fun, have a laugh, like that little in between reading your serious stuff. That's what I like doing with Gallows Man and Tales from Town City. Is like, this is just a fun time. Like not entirely turn your brain off in terms of like a Fast and Furious type movie, but like just laughing and having fun with the comic. Not saying that isn't a thing nowadays. You can't entirely find that with the mainstream stuff. You have to go, you have to dig into indie. There's a lot of stuff like that out there that is fun and funny, but you got to dig and search for that stuff.
What too is with these too. I mean, the quality, like this isn't like Marvel and DC what they're putting out. I mean, they put out their good cardstock second covers, but the books that you put out, they're thick, they're nice. The paper quality is amazing.
Thank you.
And look at that back cover too. They got the red eyes there.
Thank you.
But for like you back it and you get. I will say with your stuff, Brandon, you definitely get your money's worth with a good product.
Well, it's one of those things where like because I'm more than just the writer, like I'm doing all the other stuff aside from being the artist. Like I'm editing, I'm promoting, marketing, I'm going through printers and doing this. In each aspect, not just the writing, I want to do the best I can. So when it comes to printing a book, I want it to look the best it can look.
Right.
Like with each step, with the writing, with the art, with the lettering, with editing it, with printing it, and all the other things in between, I want it to be the best it can be for you as the reader to enjoy it, but also for me as well. Like I don't want to put out a
you want to put out a book you can be proud of.
Exactly. I want to put out a book I can be proud of and not feel like I cut corners or anything with it.
Nice. And I noticed that too. Just every time I get a book from you, it's a heavy book. Like the quality of the book is there. So just a little thing, and all the little extras are always fun. The bookmarks and the prints, but you're also selling T-shirts on the Kickstarter too, which look really cool. The Pets T-shirt is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was one of those things where like I ultimately made it for me because I wanted to have both of these T-shirts, the sand color and the pale pink version of it. But like I am happy that people have been ordering this T-shirt.
I want to show the T-shirt
again. Yeah. It's let me see. Yeah, if you scroll down, I think it's right past the preview pages.
It is. I was there earlier, then we started talking and
No, it's all good. There it is. So like like even little stuff like this, I want it to look like good. And not, this isn't like bashing anyone in particular. It's just what I've seen. I've seen it with DC and Marvel as well. Sometimes even with your merch, like a t-shirt or whatever, sometimes with DC or Marvel or other creators, sometimes it seems like no effort or thought was put into that merch.
Right.
Like what I mean by
stamp it
that
out and
is
make a quick buck.
Yeah.
what I see a lot is like and sometimes this can look good, but sometimes it doesn't. Like just taking the literal cover and it's just the rectangle on the shirt. That can look good sometimes. Sometimes so. But like simple, like even if you don't want to do new cover art, simple fixes to that make it look like, hey, this belongs on a shirt and it's meant for a shirt. This is literally that animal cover. This is that animal cover, but what we did is we took out the background, added grass,
Right.
threw grass on the bottom of it, and put the Fierce Pets logo on it. So what I mentioned with this is this didn't take a ton of time or a ton of effort, but we thought of this stuff rather than just putting the literal rectangle cover on it to be like,
Right.
hey,
Well,
like
instead of just
this is
copying
what
and
a
pasting.
t-shirt should look like. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I mentioned that for any creator out there where it's like, I don't want to do new cover art or new t-shirt art or anything like that. There's simple fixes like this where it's literally just thinking about this, like what's a cool design that might be on a cover, and then just changing it some to where it'd work on a t-shirt without having it be literal rectangle cover.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a beauty. It's a fantastic shirt.
Thank you. I'm happy I was able to make it because I really just wanted that, and having the Fierce Pets and then the acronym below it, the Precise Ecosystemic Tactical Squad. Like I wanted that on a shirt, that kind of harkening back to those Wildcats days.
Now, before we leave here, Brandon, you have other things, like we said, in the fire. So, following this one, what is the next immediate project they can look forward to after they back Tales from Town City?
So the next immediate project, I'm seeing which I'll put out first. All depends on kind of which one is done at the time and which one would work best for the time I put it out. It's either going to be the Gallows Man #3 or Dismay Avenue #3. Will likely come out around February or March of 2024. One of those will come out then, and then whichever one I don't put out at that time will come out around the summertime.
So two releases in the first half of next year.
Oh yeah,
Nice. So building up the library.
Trying to.
Right. Well, Brandon, I want to say thank you, and that was fun learning about the book, learning about some of your processes, and going through it. It was a fun read. Jim had a lot of fun with it. I was glad I got to introduce it to and create a new fan for you here. So that was fun for me to do.
Thank you, guys.
There's nothing I enjoy more than hooking Jim into something.
And you know what? If I bought that shirt, my wife would love that shirt. I may even get her one because she's a huge animal pet fan, and I may have to show her that, and she'll probably be down for that for sure. And she loves backing. I mean, like anytime I go and say, "Hey, I want to back a Kickstarter," she's like, "All right, point it to me, and I'll pay it up." So
nice. Well,
yeah, she believes in helping all indie creators. It was funny because way before, and I hate saying this, but way before Berserker even came out, she came home one day and said, "Hey, I just want you to know I backed a comic called Berserker." And I was like, because you know why? It had nothing to do with Keanu Reeves. She's a huge Matt Kent fan. And oh yeah, she's like, the one time she went to a con with me, she walked by all kind of stuff, and then she just went over to his booth with him and his wife, and the next thing I know, she's talking to him for like 40 minutes. And it was for a book called Mind Management that he did. And she's like, I want all of these issues. And I was like, sure, we can do that. You know,
It
so
was just like Misery. They didn't let him out of the basement until he wrote him the way she wanted.
right, and it's I'm telling you, it. So she doesn't care about what I do with comics, but when she finds one she likes, she's all in, and so she probably loved this Fierce Pet. I'm gonna have to show her this.
Thank you. And that's awesome that not saying she was the only one, but that is a minority of the people that saw Berserker and was like, hey, like I'm in it for Matt Kent because Matt Kent's a great writer.
Right.
Because most people heard Keanu Reeves.
Keanu
They're like,
Reeves.
I'm getting it because Keanu Reeves attached to it. But that is cool that like that's
she didn't care anything about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice. Well, so Jim, what's coming up for you, sir?
I have a mail call. Like you said, I had some mail that came in. I had a bad situation with the post office not getting my mail, and now all of a sudden I'm getting messages from them, emails from them saying, hey, this will be coming in, this will be coming in. So I think they just found a bunch of stuff for where I live, and it's all coming in now. So I'll be shooting a video for that. Probably not until next week, because this weekend I go away for my 30th wedding anniversary. So that's what's going on with me. I won't be digging. There's no digging for Digger Jim this weekend. It's spending time with the wife weekend. So I'll get out.
And you'll get back to digging.
Yeah, then I'll get back to digging.
All right, coming up for me this week, next week. So we have Chuck Hensey on the 10-1-1 this Tuesday coming up. His second time on it. And it's a 10-1-1 week, because then on the 28th, we have Steve White making his second appearance. Then we have a special Saturday night edition.
Wow.
Thorson will be co-hosting with me, Rangy and Vigilante. And we're going to have Sean from Puff Comics on.
Wow. All right.
So big thing. And Brandon, for you got any more coming up on the circuit? Any other shows that you can promote that you're going to be on?
If anyone that's listening right now lives in the very southeast, if you live near Mobile, Alabama, I'll be at a convention this weekend, starting tomorrow till Sunday at MobyCon, September 22nd to 24th. I'll be peddling my wares, saying, like, just spreading the word out. And most likely, I bought some just in case. Most likely we'll be making free tinfoil hats if people want tinfoil hats to walk around in. Just various stuff there. And yeah, just check out the Kickstarter. Ranges from $1 to $75 in terms of reward tiers and stuff. Digital copies, $5 for the comic. Gelsman 1, 2, and Tales from Town City #1, $12 digitally. Physical copies start at $10. You got t-shirts, you got great value bundles where you get covers and them signed and all bunch of other goodies as the tiers go up. But also check out other indie creators like Bigfoot Knows Karate. Hennigan just launched last night from Dan Price and Casey T. Allen. A fun book. There's Bigfoot Knows Karate 1, Bigfoot Knows Karate 2, and this is kind of like a spin-off prequel to those books. They launched it last night, and they're already, I'll have to check. I haven't checked it since like this afternoon, but they were like already 95% funded. Like it was
nice.
Awesome. It was awesome to see that support. So just support indie comics. That's just one example. That's one example to go to, but there's all kinds of indie stuff out there.
Nice.
All right.
And you as Hypnoman should be doing an instructional video on Instagram on how to make your own tinfoil hat.
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
That's a good idea. I'll probably do that because lately I've been trying to think of the weird ideas to do with it. So I'll probably do that.
There you go. I think that would be funny.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll probably early next week. I'm probably going to shoot that.
There you go. All right, guys. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the channel again. It was fun having you and fun having a discussion, man. Appreciate it very much, and I look forward to getting my physical copy of Tales from Town City.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
No
yes,
problem.
now I have to order one. Daggone it.
Right, and thank you to the audience. Thank you guys for participating. And CJ, hit him up. He's game to go on your show. 100%. And guys, as I like to end these things, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. I'm dog tired today.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you all so much. And until next time, keep it casual.